So I just watched a fellow YouTuber's video, made a comment as a club builder that what they were doing was wrong. So naturally, I have to prove them wrong, and that's what we're going to do today.
Be the right club today. Yes!
What's going on, guys? G2 here with 3-putt bogey. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. If you are new to the community, welcome. Take a minute after this video, check out some of the other stuff we do. If you like it, join us. Love to have you. Love to respond to your questions and or concerns or any other future videos you may want to see. But today, we're doing a little myth busting. I like to watch other club makers' videos. It gives me inspiration for videos that I want to do. It gives me inspiration for videos that I need to do because the information that you are being told is wrong. Also, it's just good to know about your competition. Not that we're in competition. This is a friendly place. But I recently watched this video where a very popular YouTube club maker built a set of clubs, and they used a method that I would consider incorrect. And essentially what this club maker did was they were making a set of irons that needed to be swing weighted, that needed to have shims put in them, and they dry fit everything without the swing weights, without the shims, cut the shafts, then proceeded to put everything together and glue it up and put the grips on and called it good. So where I come from and the way that I was apprenticed, those little pieces that you're putting at the end add length to the club. And I questioned this process, and this was the response. And I'm not surprised because I have questioned processes from this YouTuber before, and the comments have always been the same. That his way, I'm wrong, it is what it is. But if you're watching this and you do it that way, or you're doing this for a customer, it's going to be wrong. So I don't know how this test is going to work out. Maybe I will be wrong. Maybe he will be right. Maybe he will be wrong. And maybe I will be right. Or maybe none of us will be right. Maybe it's irrelevant, which would still make him right. So we're leaning for I'm right. No, we're leaning for truth. So we are going to go to the bench and we are going to test this out exactly the way that it was done, both his way and according to Ralph Maltby, the gentleman that I apprenticed under for 2 years, the right way. And we'll see, is there a difference? Because if you're doing this for your customers or yourself, and you're going to give them the wrong swing weight, the wrong length, all of that stuff, your reputation as a club builder will not last very long. So, to the bench. All right, time to get into our experiment. Now, what we're going to do, and my argument is that by adding the tip weight and adding the shim after you have already cut the shaft to the playing length that you want, your playing length is going to be wrong. And it could be wrong by upwards of a 1/16th to a 32nd of an inch. Now, is that big of a deal? For me, yes, because this process, building in general, is all about precision. You're going to do and put as much effort as you can to get this as close to perfect as it should be. And that also comes into when we talk about swing weighting. So when people swing weight, they will just set the club up like so, as it would be, put the head in there, maybe put the tip in there, the tip weight like so, put the head in there, and then sometimes they won't, they will use a grip to help with the swing weight. I always use a grip, and doing it this way could also mess you up. We put the grip on, right, and we'll show this in physical swing weighting. We'll do it and you'll see the difference. So if I was to swing weight this just the way it is right now, I would be pretty close, but I'm missing a couple main factors that are going to be added to this club after I've swing weighted it. Number one being there is no tape on the grip. Okay? Now you're thinking to yourself, big deal. How much does tape weigh, right? It's got to be negligible. So here you go.
this right here is how much tape would be used. Now granted, this is going to come in as a total weight, but that weight will be spread when we install it over the entire length of the grip. But just tape, how much? It's about 3.3 grams. Ferrule, how much does a ferrule add if you don't use that when you do your swing weight? Ferrule adds 1.3 grams epoxy. I know how much epoxy weighs, and I always use a dime. A dime comes into about 2.6 grams, and that is typically how much your epoxy will weigh. So if you did the epoxy and the ferrule, now we're adding 3.8 grams towards the end of the club. That is going to impact your swing weight by almost 2 points. Now the shim. The shim isn't going to give you much, but this may bring this 3.8 to 4. Actually brings it up to 4.4. So now we have, by not putting this in our dry fit when we do our swing weight, we have lost 4.3 grams to the bottom of the club, right, that we are not accounting for. And we are also not accounting for 3 grams, 3.2, 3.1 grams of tape on this end. And that's why, for me, it is so important to factor all of these variables in when you swing weight. But how much does it really make a difference? Let's find out. So I've got my swing weight scale here. Now, one of the first things that I always do with my swing weight is I always make sure, one, that it's level. You have to calibrate your swing weight, especially if you're moving it from one area of your shop to the other. And I use a little target bubble level, and I will put that right down here. And if you guys can see, that bubble is right smack in the middle of the level, which means it is level this way and this way, and there's no rocking. And I have adjustable feet on this that I can unscrew or screw to level it to the correct calibration. So this is 100% level the base. That is the first thing you need to do. The other thing is we need to make sure that it's calibrated to 0. And all you do is you take your weight and you move it all the way down to 0. And you can see it's calibrating, and we'll see when we look at this that it is perfectly in the middle here. So it's perfectly reading 0 weight when the weight is on 0. So I know my swing weight scale is calibrated. If you don't do this, you're measuring nothing. You're making the assumption that this thing is right all the time. So let's go ahead. I'm going to move the camera so you guys can see what this club comes into in all these different configurations and look at how much the swing weight can change. Okay, so for our first test here, we're going to do this the way not the way that I normally would do it, but the way that it was done. So we have the tip weight in there. We have the club head. And we have the grip. So this is kind of, the very basic setup on how you would do swing weight. And we'll put this in. Now, I don't care what the swing weight is. That's not what I'm worried about. We're using the measurement as a baseline. All right, so we are sitting right now at a C6, just a little over a C6. I'd call it like C6.25. We'll call it a C6. Now, let's add in our grip tape. Remember, we knew the grip tape measured at about 3.1 grams. Okay, so the grip tape has been installed. We're going to put the grip back on. And we're just going to leave this right where it was balanced without the grip tape. And we can see we're not balanced.
So we were at a C 6.25, and this has lightened the swing weight because we've put more weight on this end than on the head end. Okay, so it was exactly one swing weight. So we went from a C6 without the tape to now a C5 with the tape. So that's how much the tape changes, an entire point. But we're not done. We got to add more stuff, right? So let's add our ferrule. All right, we got to add our ferrule onto this. Let's add our shim. Let's put our club head back on, make sure it's fully seated, which it is. We'll set our ferrule on there. And then we're also going to add what our epoxy weighs. Now, again, I use a dime. This for me is perfect, and I put a little bit of, it's like sticky tack, reusable sticky tack, and what I'll simply do is I will just stick this right on the end of the club like that, and it doesn't fall off or anything like that from the sticky tack. And we'll put this in now. Okay, we are much heavier. Remember, we were at C6 baseline, added the tape, brought us down to C5. Now we will go back to our baseline of C, just a hair over C6, and this thing ain't moving. Let's keep going. 1 point up, this is C7. We are still not quite there. It's running a little heavy. We'll go a half. And this looks about right. So that is spot on, perfect. So now we are at a 5, 6, 7.25. So we have gone up one swing weight point with this club fully put together. That's the difference. So instead of, if someone wanted a C6 and you didn't do it this way, they're coming in as a C7. And this is why so many OEM clubs are not right when you get them from the manufacturer, because they don't do this full dry set. Now, we know that there is a significant change that occurs if you don't dry fit with all the components that you're supposed to do. But the other thing we want to test is playing length. How much does the playing length change if you don't add the weight tip or the shim when you cut the shaft? All right, so for our first test, we are going to establish our baseline. No swing weight tip in there, which is how it was done. No epoxy ferrules. It's unnecessary. What we're really measuring here is, do these two components, a swing weight and a shim, change the overall playing length of the club? And I mean, listen, it has to, right? It has to. I don't know the answer, but common sense would dictate that it has to. And we're going to make sure, obviously, this is going to be completely fully set in there, so we're not manipulating it. We're going to set it up to the playing length, make sure we're square. Okay. Now, to make this a little easier for you guys to see, because, you know, we're dealing in basically 16ths, very small measurements here. We're going to do it like this. So this is our baseline measurement. And we're going to get a pen, and we are going to mark directly on where the shaft and the tape meet. So that's our mark right there. Okay? So we'll call this number 1. That is nothing installed. Now let's go ahead and we're going to put in our swing weight, and we're going to put in our shim like so, and we're going to put the club head on and get it seated in there.
far down as it can go. I'm going to tamp it here to make sure that it's fully set. Okay, that is fully set, just as it would if you were to install it. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this back. Okay. And we are going to measure. And there's our second line. So this is the difference between the two. Okay? It is not nominal by any means. The difference between this, if we measure, is 1/8. So 1/8 of an inch. That, is it close? Sure. Is it precise? This is precise. Absolutely. So, I would say for me, 1/8 of an inch is outside of my acceptable differential and not anything that I would give to my customer or to myself or anything. So, yes, it makes a difference.
I don't want to say I was right, but I was right, and it does make a difference. Is like I said in the video there. It's a level of accuracy and a quality control that I will not ignore simply just because it saves me a little bit of time on the overall build. So there you have it. I would highly suggest, if you are building your own clubs, you go to GolfWorks, look at the way they tell you to build their clubs. All of that stuff was done by Ralph Maltby. He is the premier club maker in the history of golf, and follow his direction because the right way is the only way, and I'm just going to leave it on that. So until next time, make sure that you swing as hard as you can just in case you hit the ball. G2 out.